Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, a transport group says at least 45,000 jeepney drivers and operators in Metro Manila are set to join a 3-day transport strike beginning SONA Day. But the LTFRB warns stiff penalties await those who will join the transport strike. And later we get the latest on the government's push to modernize public utility vehicles. Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board Chief Teofilo Guadiz joins us in the program. Tens of thousands of jeepney drivers operating in Metro Manila are set to hold a 3-day transport strike, coinciding with President Bongbong Marcos' second State of the Nation address on July 24th. The group Manibela claims its drivers and operators have been deprived of routes under the government's route rationalization plan. It is standing firm in holding the strike despite the government's warning that drivers who will participate could face penalties, including the revocation of their franchise to operate. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have LTFRB Chairperson Teofilo Guadiz. Chairman Guadiz, good morning. Welcome to The Source, sir.
Good morning, Pinky, and good morning to our viewers at CNN.
It's good to have you, sir, finally. So if Manibela decides to push through rather, with the transport strike slated from July 24 to 26, first and foremost, Chairman, how many jeeps or ilan po yung percentage of jeeps will be unable to service the commuters in Metro Manila?
Pinky, if we were to deduce based on the last strike conducted by Manibela, there were roughly only about 8.7% for the NCR region. That's why we're not that much concerned about the effects of the strike, but nevertheless, we're taking all the necessary precautions.
And would that amount to about 45,000 jeepneys?
There are about that much jeepneys, 45,000 in Metro Manila. 8% would roughly be something like about 1.1 to 2,000, if I'm not mistaken.
I see. So, ibig sabihin po nito, Chairman, kung matutuloy po yung strike, ang hindi possibly na hindi po magtatrabaho yung mga jeepney drivers, mga 1 to 2,000 po yan sa Metro Manila will be affected. Mga 1,000 o 2,000 jeep.
If we were to believe them that they will not really be going out, then there would be about 1,000 jeepneys. But based on my recent dialogues with the 7 of the biggest jeepney associations, none of them will be supporting Mr. Valbuena.
Right. And
most of the members of that group have expressed quite a desire to work on this date for the reason that for these jeepney drivers, every day counts. Bawat araw na hindi ka pumasok, ibig sabihin yan kabawasan sa pagsusustento mo sa pamilya mo. Based on this, Pinky, there is a very big possibility that even that strike would be about less than 3% ang magpa-participate.
So because you have the Magnificent Seven behind you, right? The Magnificent Seven is saying they're not joining the strike on July 24 to 26. So it's really right now, from my understanding, sir, ito pong Manibela.
Yes, it's the Manibela alone and the Magnificent Seven plus 1, which is the UV group, are not joining the strike, and they have manifested their intentions in our meeting last Thursday that they are not desirous of joining this activity.
All right. The 1,000 jeeps that might not go out from July 24 to 26, what are your contingency plans for this?
Number one, we have our dialogue with the UV and the bus operators. We have ample motor vehicles during the vehicle strike. We will be deploying what we call the rescue buses. We asked the PNP also to help us in the deployment. as well as for the maintenance of the peace and order in areas where there could probably be potential troubles.
Potential troubles meaning, attorney, that baka po pilitin yung ibang mga jeep na tumigil pasada para po sumali dun sa strike? Is that one problem you're seeing?
Pinky, there are two situations here. One is pipilitin, yung hindi mapipilit, binabato or naglalagay ng spike sa daan para masira yung gulong ng mga ayaw sumama sa strike.
So basically, it's really harassing those who are going out and servicing the commuters para po hindi sila matuloy.
Definitely, Pinky,
Okay.
and we are ready for these contingencies.
All right. Just to clarify, Chairman, is the strike in Metro Manila or is it also going to be in other regions? Because I remember Manibela was saying that they have about 200,000 members, if I'm not mistaken, in 8 regions.
Based on the last head count last Friday on who will be and who will not be joining the strike, our head count is that it will be focused only on Metro Manila. And as far as the Visayas and the Mindanao are concerned, zero po. No one is joining the strike. For the Luzon, we are looking into Region 4 as possible area where there could possibly be a small degree of participants, but it's very, very insignificant.
So it's really centered around Metro Manila.
Yes, and it is meant to embarrass the government at the time when the president will have his SONA.
And which routes will be affected? Have you figured this out, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Most of these routes are in Quezon City. About 2 or 3 significant routes in Quezon City will be affected. The same routes that were affected during the last strike. I think it's just history repeating itself kung ano yung mga strength nila about 2 or 3 routes in Quezon City. These will be the areas that will be affected.
And because
One of them is Balintawak. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, sir. One of them is Balintawak, you were saying?
Yes, one of them is Balintawak, which I am keenly watching right now.
Yung pong we were discussing a while ago that it seems it's just really the group Manibela that will be participating or even initiating this strike come July 24 to 26, and all the others don't seem to be supporting this. Chairman, are there upcoming talks with Manibela regarding possibly not pushing through with the strike?
Yes, definitely, Pinky. In fact, 2 weeks before they have announced this strike, I have a dialogue with the president of Manibela. And to my surprise, after that, bigla na lang siyang nag-declare ng strike. We have always extended our hand to them. And in fact, I have tried to reach out to him to forgo the strike since the very reason for their strike is really non-existent. They're afraid of a phase-out. There is no such thing as phase-out in the jeepneys nationwide.
Yeah, those are two, I believe, of the issues that Manibela was raising. Number one, yung pong ruta, they're saying that there are groups that are being favored. And of course, the PUV or the jeepney modernization plan. But I want to talk about that a little later on. So when you met him 2 weeks ago, sabi niyo po, was everything well after the meeting? And did this plan of a strike surprise you?
Yes, it was a very cordial meeting. We were discussing the complaints, the concerns of Manibela, and I have expressed my desire to address this concern, though I have to admit to him that I cannot address all of them at one time. And I gave the commitment to him that we will gradually address these issues, primarily the issue of jeepney phase-out, which I assured him that there would be no such jeepney phase-out. All that we wanted from them is to organize themselves for us to effectively communicate all the policies of the LTFRB. There was no mention of any phase-out, so I was really surprised why there was a strike, and the very issue that they're telling us is that they resent or they disagree with the plan of the government for a jeepney phase out.
Yeah. So as I mentioned a while ago, no, Chairman, ito pong pinag-uusapan is the supposed to be PUV modernization. And I know that there was a deadline supposed to be end of June for these drivers and operators to come together and form cooperatives. I want to talk about that after the break, but before that, just one last question on this strike, sir. If it pushes through, will there be sanctions?
Definitely there will be sanctions.
Such as?
In the previous administration, they have always said there will be, but no sanction was done. In my time, there will be sanction. Either you get suspended or your franchise will be revoked. I assure those who will participate in these strikes to think twice before going into such a strike.
Is it automatic, sir? Sa lahat ng sasali sa strike sa July 24, magkakaroon po ng suspension or revocation?
There will be a due process. We will first ask them to show cause why their franchise will not be revoked, and if their explanation is not satisfactory, we either revoke them or we suspend their franchises.
All right, we need to take a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. Watching The Source on CNN Philippines, I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, LTFRB Chairperson Teofilo Guadiz. Chairman, so you said that you issued a warning to those who will participate that they will their franchises could be suspended or possibly revoked, but there will be due process. In this due process, sir, who determines whether a decision to suspend or revoke their license is necessary?
We have a board at the LTFRB, and it's a board of 3, wherein I am the chairman of that. We will determine in a hearing why they should not be sanctioned, meaning to say they will be given the chance to explain themselves before the board of the LTFRB.
But I guess what I'm trying to say, sir, the chances of them, yung posibilidad na hindi po sila masuspend or ma-revoke yung kanilang franchises, ay maliit dahil inisyuhan nyo na po sila. You're already warning them, and basically you're also going to be the one to decide whether there's due cause for them to have gone through with the strike or not.
In a sense, yes, because I am the chief enforcer for LTFRB, but we have a legal department that would prosecute the case, and they will be having their own day in court. Either they will be represented by a lawyer or a duly authorized representative of their cooperative, at least to explain to us. And we're very much open to discuss with them the reason why they join or the strike.
How does the LTFRB determine who did join or who actually joined the strike? Do you have people on the ground who will look into sino po yung mga drivers na lumahok sa strike?
Yes, Pinky.
How so?
I am assigning staff on the ground. These are the enforcers. May dala-dala po silang mga camera. Kukunan po ng picture yung mga plates nila, and they will take pictures of the drivers participating in this strike.
Apo.
And based on this data, we will be notifying them and show cause why they should not be suspended or why their franchise should not be revoked.
All right. Let's talk about the issues, Chairman. Tama ho ba? I do recall in a previous interview you had that there was a directive for the jeepney drivers and operators to form cooperatives or groups, and that there was supposed to be a deadline for this last June 30. Is this still accurate, and what is the update on this?
Hindi na po accurate yan, Ms. Pinky. The initial deadline was March 30, but then when I came in at the LTFRB, we gave them an additional grace period of up to December 30 to incorporate themselves into a cooperative. Hanggang doon lang po ang requirement muna namin for this modernization program, we are not asking them to phase out their jeepney. Mag-incorporate muna sila, then the education on how a proper jeepney operative should be run will be done. Then the modernization would come at the later part, probably at the end of 2024 or the start of 2025. Matagal pa po yung phase out na yan.
Chairman, sorry, apologies, I didn't hear part of what you said. You said that yung deadline for them to form cooperatives is rather end of December. Tama ho ba?
Yes.
Okay.
End of December 31.
Okay. And then, so far, how many cooperatives or how many jeepney drivers and operators have actually formed cooperatives at ilan pa ho yung hindi pa kasali sa mga kooperatiba?
I think we have a graph. If CNN would allow me to post the graph which I supplied you, that's about 64.7% of the total jeepney drivers have already incorporated themselves.
So more or less, you have about 35% pa na hindi pa po kasali sa mga kooperatiba.
Yes, that was as of June 30, 2023. That's it, 64.4% off ang nag-incorporate na.
I see.
For the PUJ and for the utility vehicles, it's mas mataas, 72%.
Okay.
So, malapit-lapit na po tayo sa at least the ideal number of 85 to 90%.
And you're hoping by the end of December, maging 100% ho ba to?
I am hoping that at least 90% off by the end of December.
And what
What
are the advantages, Chairman, of being part of these cooperatives or consolidating into groups?
Number one is that if you incorporate yourself, you'll now be able to determine exactly how many jeepneys are necessary in a certain route. May I give you an example? Yung sinasabi ko palaging Espanya-Quiapo. There are about 2,600 jeepneys traversing that route. Based on our studies, to make it really viable, there needs to be only something like 1,800 jeepneys for this route. So what happens now? We now consolidate them, we now incorporate them into a group, and then based on that, there would be rotation on the number of jeepneys that would be plying the route on certain days of the week and on certain hours of the week. During the peak hours, mas marami, and during the lean hours, mas kokonti. The reason is that if you are organized into a cooperative, you're able to plan on how to effectively at least go on the route with a maximum amount of profit.
I guess
Yan ho ang purpose ng incorporating themselves into a cooperative or a corporation.
it becomes more cost-effective for them also, I guess.
Thank you. Yes, Pinky, that's the right word, cost-effective for them.
Opo. Kasi I guess what you're saying, Chairman, is that may mga ruta, as you gave an example a while ago, napakaraming jeep, pero hindi naman po ganun ang demand. So it's again also an issue of supply and demand. But talking about routes, didn't also Manibela say that they are unhappy with this government plan of rationalizing these routes because they claim, Manibela is claiming that some of the routes are being given to favored groups. Actually, he used LGUs or private corporations. Is this true, sir?
Definitely not. In establishing all these routes, alam mo, Pinky, it is not the LTFRB that determines the route. It is the LGU in partnership with the LTFRB. They determine the route and then they enact an ordinance to this effect. And mostly for these routes, pag may mga existing jeepneys na, hindi na po namin ginagalaw yon. What we only give in as additional routes are for those new routes na itatayo po namin. But if you have already an existing route, again, taking the example of Espanya-Quiapo, may mga jeepneys na po dyan sa area yan. So we do not anymore give additional routes to other jeepneys. Ang binibigyan lang namin are those possible areas na pwedeng daanan ng mga jeepneys and there are no existing jeepneys. In that case, we award them to other groups. But the determination of who gets these routes are based more on the existing or the nearby cooperatives who are plying that route. So I beg to disagree with the allegation of Manibela.
But you are willing to look into their allegation?
Of course, Pinky.
Opo.
We have always maintained an open door policy with them. We have always constantly made a dialogue with them. As I said 2 weeks ago, I was talking to the president of Manibela and it really saddens me that out of the blue, bigla na lang siya nag-call ng strike.
And why do you think? And why do you think so, sir? Bakit sa palagay ninyo ay bigla-bigla po siyang nananawagan o magsa-strike po sa July 24 and 26? Because you're saying you're surprised. So what could it be? Was there a breakdown in communication?
I have no idea, Pinky. But again, I'm calling Manibela to come back to the negotiating table. There is nothing that we cannot agree on if we are on the negotiating table.
All right. We need to take another short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, LTFRB Chairperson Teofilo Guadiz. Chairman, can you tell me more about the numbers with regards to the latest on the jeepney modernization?
Yes. I think, can I present again one of the graphs which I supplied your office? The first one. The second one.
We're getting it ready, sir.
Yes. Based on the numbers, as you can see, there are about 63.4% of the public utility jeeps na nag-consolidate. When you say consolidate, they've already formed themselves into one association. The same thing with the utility vehicles. Ito po yung mga puti na nakikita natin sa sasakyan. And we have conducted at least 40 consultations already nationwide, trying to get the feeling or the sentiments and concerns of the transport sector. And in most of our dialogue with them, the concern is more on the fear that their motor vehicles will eventually be phased out. And when I assured them that such is not the case, that they can continue plying their route so long as their jeeps pass the road safety test of the LTO, then they have agreed to consolidate themselves. After all, that is what we ask from them as of this time.
So as of this time, as long as roadworthy po yung mga jeep, ay papayagan po silang magserbisyo sa commuters.
Exactly, Miss Pinky. You hit the right word.
And being roadworthy.
So long as these jeepneys are roadworthy.
Opo. And being roadworthy means yung pag-register po ng kanilang mga sasakyan, hindi ho ba we have that motor vehicle inspection? Tama ho ba yun?
Correct, Miss Pinky.
Okay.
Number one, dapat hindi bumubugan ng maitim na usok. Number two, attune yung kanilang sasakyan, the brakes and the engine are roadworthy enough to transport the passengers. If you pass the 11 basic tests of the LTO, there is no reason why we will not register your jeepneys.
And when is the phase out, Chairman, of the traditional jeepneys transitioning into the modern ones? Is this still going to happen as a last question? At kailan po?
Yes, there would still be a phase out, but this would happen 2 or 3 years from now. This is still a long, long way. Can I have the first slide, please, so I can at least explain? The blue one. Yes. As you see, if you look into it, the first part is the route, the industry consolidation. Going to your left, there is a route determination from the industry consolidation to the fleet modernization, which is the last stage, would take about 2 to 3 years pa po yan, Miss Pinky, if you see the graph in there.
Okay.
Definitely there will be fleet modernization, but there has to be a transition, and those who would be displaced and who will not be able to modernize will be given a social support program. So yes, there will be fleet modernization, but as to when, that will still be 2 or 3 years from now.
LTFRB Chairperson Teofilo Guadiz. Chairman, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Pinky, for giving me this time to explain the fleet modernization.
Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.